Hey everyone, welcome back. It's another video. Douglas Murray has continued his press tour for his book on democracies and death cults. And well, loads of podcasters have been asking him since that infamous interview with Joe Rogan and Dave Smith, what are your thoughts? And can you please expand upon what you were trying to say? Because it seemed to have started a massive firestorm on the internet and loads of people have been railing on you. Are you against freedom of speech? Those kinds of questions, which loads of people seem to be thinking that Douglas is against freedom of speech. He's a warmonger. He's an elitist. He's a pompous Brit and all that sort of stuff. He's none of those things. He is for free speech. He is trying to explain something very, very important, especially in today's world. We have been given an enormous gift and blessing, right? To be able to have our own voice on a platform and spread it around. Now, some people are what you would consider to be experts. Can you trust the experts? Sometimes, especially when it comes to history, and we know based on history what the facts are. And then you've also got these other people that have started a podcast that are self-taught, and they've got these weird kooky-like voices, as Douglas explains in this video I'll show you in a moment. You have these self-taught individuals that think they know what they're talking about, but really they're just there to be provocative. And yet they're the ones that are given a major platform to spread lies or information that is actually really harmful to the public sphere. They will go after historical figures. They will try and change history to suit their own narrative and attack one particular group of people known as the Jews. Not just that, they will continuously be disingenuous about everything. They will also go, I'm just asking questions. I'm no expert on anything, but, and I'm Douglas, as he points out, what are you feeding? What are you watering? That is what we would consider to be dangerous. And sure, you can have an opinion. You're allowed to voice your opinion 100%. But when it comes down to being on the largest platform in the world without someone to counteract the provocative things you're saying, probably not the best idea. Have a watch of Douglas share his thoughts that he went on a podcast recently and called out Joe Rogan yet again.
Like the platforming of endless, weird, kooky voices from semi-self-taught people. So here's the problem as I see it.
But is the problem with being self-taught, or is
No, it's not. I mean, I stressed repeatedly in the interview, anyone can say anything they want within the confines of the law. Anyone can have a view on anything. I'm for that. I spent much of my career advocating for that. But that it doesn't mean just because some experts have let themselves down or let all of us down, it doesn't mean that you should simply lift the sluices of your society and allow all the sewage to just flow through it. Mm-hmm. And that's what I see happening. And you see, the problem here is Joe is a very skilled podcaster. People don't realize how good he is until you see somebody who can't do what he does. But if he wants somebody to discuss MMA fighting, you will notice that he does not invite comedian Dave Smith, because comedian Dave Smith has never been in a fight or to a fight, or maybe he has, but I don't think he'd know how to talk about the jiu-jitsu. Maybe he would. Maybe it surprised me. But Joe would not have him on to talk about something that Joe knows about. So why does he have him on to talk about a conflict that the guy knows so little about? Somebody recently upped on X a snippet of an interview that Joe did a while ago with one of these pseudo-historians, where he says, you know, nobody has a right to say that you're a neo-Nazi or Hitler apologist unless they've imbibed your work and listened to all of it. And, you know, it's like talking to somebody who thinks they know about a country who's never been there. And I think, yeah, that was one of the points I was trying to make. I mean, I was pretty alarmed by I don't really follow fires I've started in general. but I was pretty alarmed by
The reaction?
I was pretty alarmed by the number of people who found it, including Joe and Dave, found it to be some kind of really weird, snooty, elitist thing to say, if you're going to write about a place, you should have been there or know about it. You should do some of the legwork. I was pretty alarmed about that simply because in old media, and I certainly, that was a standout. Like, good God, the old media, legacy media, let us all down in ways that you and I could riff about for a fortnight.
So you have the legacy media, right? And I trust Douglas Murray. Now, when it comes down to these experts that definitely have let themselves down and let all of us down, there are those out there. And for some reason, the landscape has changed so much so that now, because people are against these experts that let us all down and themselves, now they've got to turn to other sources of information, let's say, that don't actually lend itself to the truth, because it's not the truth. Sure, the experts have done the wrong thing, but that doesn't mean that the truth isn't actually there. Just because you have this provocative podcaster claiming that he knows the truth without proving that he knows the truth, why is it that so many people actually listen to that podcaster? It's because they're so angry at the expert that has let himself and us down. Now, there is a difference between science as a subject matter and letting loads of people down because you've got a political agenda, and everyone felt that during COVID for sure. And then you've got history, for example, totally different subject matter. And yes, you can have historical figures that were scientists and you can learn all about them. History is different to actual science. You have facts versus historical facts. And learning about the two is very, very important. But what we've got, I mean, the radical left tried to change science and biology, something that was innate, with the whole trans thing. Now, on the right, and they also try to change history too, parts of it, I should say, and historical figures. And now the right is doing pretty much the same thing. And then if you go, you don't have any authority really to talk about this on the biggest platform in the world. You have authority to talk about it on your own platform because you've probably got less followers, so to speak. And then you more than likely should have someone that knows more about you on the show to actually let you know this is unacceptable. This is untrue. Hence why we have the importance of debate and people that are really factual. I couldn't live with myself if I told you guys lies all the time. I really couldn't. It's not my style, and I strive to be a man of integrity. Just as much as I think Douglas does as well. But some people think that he comes off as being pompous, too brash, too elitist, but he's not. I think he understands exactly what's going on in this world, and no one is actually looking at Douglas anymore because they've got so many other people to look at. I myself look to Douglas as much as I look to several other people that I know that are trustworthy to report on facts. Now, when it comes down to the legacy media, they have definitely let us down because, yeah, they'll go to the conflict, but you notice they've got a particular bias that they report on. It's quite evident. They've looked at a story. They've looked at a situation. They don't just tell it for what it is. They've got a bias now. And that's why Douglas, I think, is so trustworthy because he's been there and people trust what he has to say. I don't think that he's got a personalized bias per se that is a negative one, but I would trust someone a lot more that has got experience in a matter, has seen the conflict firsthand, and doesn't have a particular bias, just points out the truth. This is what went on. And that's exactly what Douglas does, and actually points to reason and logic. What else are you going to do with the conflict between Israel and Hamas? What are you going to do? What are your solutions to fix the issue? What do you expect Israel to do? Because guaranteed, the mainstream media's got no idea. So like Dave Smith and Tim Dillon and Candace Owens, they're more than happy to rail on Israel, say, whoa, Israel, like, what are you doing? But when it comes down to the truth of the matter, Dave Smith has more than likely got a lot of his facts from all these different sources that more than likely haven't actually been there. Or they're seeing secondhand information that is on your screen. It's a lot different nowadays. And you've got to be very careful. And that's all Douglas Murray was saying. You've got to be very, very careful with who you're listening to and what you're feeding and what you're putting out. We have a duty of care as podcasters to, number one, tell the truth. You can say whatever you want as long as it is well within the law. And if you say something that is outside the law, you face the consequences of doing just that. It's the way that the world works, right? And if we're not careful, we can end up in a very dark and dangerous world whereby members of the right have infiltrated and changed the landscape so considerably now that you yourself, if you point out to them that they're in the wrong, you're in the wrong, apparently. It's insane to me that loads of people, and even Douglas pointed this out in that interview, was amazed at the response from even Joe and Dave that haven't actually been to the conflict. And yet they were acting as if they knew more. And their talking points, they're like trying to bring in the moral side of things, the morality of war, and thinking that they knew best. It's interesting, like that kind of dynamic between someone that's actually seen firsthand what's taken place. Now, I understand that everyone's going, oh, you don't need to be there to understand what's going on. You don't need to be there to have an opinion on what's going on. I totally understand those things. But when it comes down to facts and information, if you go there and you see things with your own eyes, guarantee your perspective is going to definitely shift. I'm sure if Douglas were to go to Gaza, which I'm sure he has, and see what has taken place, I think his perspective would definitely shift. But he already has been to Gaza. He's been to where the atrocities have taken place. He's been places. He knows. He's been to the Ukraine war. He's seen things, man. So I understand. I really do. And as much as I try, I do my best to tell people the truth as much as I possibly can. And if I make a mistake, I'll admit it. Okay? I'm no politician. I own up to my mistakes. Let's just say that. So anyway, those are my thoughts on the matter. But you guys take care. Be blessed. And I'll see you all in the next video.